Cheers. Okay, here we go. Hey guys, this is Bruce, and welcome to Convocourses. I just got off work, but for the first time in a long time, I'm doing this on a Friday because I can't do this Saturday. I'm going to be out Saturday, so I figure I'd go ahead and do this early. And I'm just going to jump right into it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Bruce. I've been doing this for many, many years, doing cybersecurity, mostly governance, risk, and compliance. What is that? That means like the documentation side of cybersecurity. Some of you don't really talk, you don't hear about. You hear about forensics on shows like CSI. You hear about hacking on all kinds of movies and stuff. You hear about analysts who are involved with secret agent bullshit, but you don't hear about what I do, which is cybersecurity for governance, risk, and compliance. Information security is probably what you know it better as, if you know it at all. So, my first question that I got from TikTok was a question I get a lot, which is somebody's trying to get in this field and they have no experience at all. They have no background. And they actually ask me, what, should they do Linux, third party, or risk management framework? So most of I've done Linux before. I've been a Linux administrator or Unix administrator before. Not my strongest, uh, not the strongest thing I'm good at. Mostly it's risk management framework, to tell you the truth. That's what I've been doing. So I can speak mostly on that. But I have got some friends who are in very strong with Unix or Linux or system administration or whatever. But see, the real question, if you are new to this, if you don't have any experience in IT at all, is how do you get in there? That's the question you should ask. Not, should I be a cloud person or should I be, risk management? Right now, if you have no experience, then the first thing that you got to focus on is getting your foot in the door. You got to learn the basics. Is the very first thing. The very first thing I would tell you is it's okay to like dream like where you want to be or whatever. Like maybe you're thinking, man, I want to be a cloud engineer, or I want to be a risk management framework guy. I want to be, a hacker, a pen tester, or whatever. That's cool to dream. Like that's good to have a target, like a 5 year goal or whatever, 2 year goal, whatever it is. But right now, if you have no experience, you got to be thinking about how you can get your foot in the door. And the first thing you should do, if I were you, if I was in your position, I would look for free resources. I would look for people who have videos about them being in IT. Free resources all over YouTube, all over TikTok, all over. Like listen to these guys who've been doing it for a while. Listen to them speak. Listen to not only the pros but also the cons, the good and the bad, the ugly of IT. Listen to what they're saying, right? For free. Don't spend any money yet. Right now, just kind of look and see what you want to do because you might not want to do this because it's not for everybody. This is one of those jobs that's really not for everybody. Um, so, yeah, that's the first thing you're going to do. Listen to people speak about it before you spend anything. Um, Another thing you can do is look if you have cousins or uncles or friends who are already in IT, pick their brain and ask them like, how is it? Should I do it? What do you think? Ask them what's their day like. What kinds of things do they do day to day? Do they like their career job? Like, do they like that they chose this career path? Ask them. Get pick their brain for what it is that's going on, and don't look at just like what they do. Look at how they feel. Like what's their demeanor? Do they like their work? Like that's important. What do they like what they're doing? Now, do they maybe they don't like what they're doing, but they're getting paid so much that they like what they're. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't have to like it necessarily, but if these guys are healthy and happy enough to be like, I'm going to continue to do this for another 10 years or whatever, then that's saying something. Even if they're like, nah, I don't really like it, but I'm getting paid. That's still good. That's great. So first, that's what you need to do. Now, let's say you get past the hurdle. You've watched a bunch of videos about people. You talk to your cousins, brothers, uncles, friends, whatever, girlfriend, whatever, who happens to be in this field, and you're like, yeah, this is something I want to do. This sounds pretty good. Like it gets good pay. It's a stable job. This guy's always employed. They're always making above when people normally. I hate the job I'm at. Like it's not paying well. I need to switch it up. So now you decided. Now you want to start investing not only your time, but your hard-earned money. And now you want to put even more time into this. What you're gonna want to do is start trying to get some hands on, do some projects on your own in your house. And that might not even cost you any money at all. Like you can start working on your actual computer, setting up your network, setting up things like a firewall, messing around with the network you already have on your in your house or whatever, if you have one, looking at how networks work. Start think about buying a book, like an entry level book into getting into this, and like sit down and spend time to read that book. Go to Udemy classes. Go to I'm not this is not me promoting my stuff. My course is free. I have free stuff. You can literally go on my link and find all kinds of free stuff. I got my downloadable templates to if you're in a GRC position already, or if you're in IT, I've got that. I've got my own resume. You can take a look at that. I've got courses that are free, introductions, free stuff. I'm not saying it's for you to buy from me. You are not my audience. My audience is an IT guy who's trying to level up. That's my audience. My audience is somebody who's trying to go to six figures. That's my that's my audience. But if you're brand new to this, now you want to start thinking about, you've already decided you want to do this. Now you want to spend time and money and energy to go deeper down this rabbit hole. Start thinking about getting a entry level courses on like Udemy. They have some pretty cheap ones on Udemy. Um, Start looking at for dummies books. Start looking at, like, this is the very beginning, and there's tons of free resources on the internet that you can get about how networking works, how computers work. So you want to start off small, like spend like 30, 40 bucks to like get a book, or spend time to like really research it and learn it, and start tinkering around with your own network. Become like a geek. That's what I'm trying to tell you to do. Spend the time and become like a geek. Now let's say you're beyond the geek phase. You've built your own network in your house. You've messed around. You've applied patches to your system. You installed a Linux system. You bought a Mac OS system to mess around with it, and you've gotten kind of proficient at installing it or uploading it and fixing problems on it and troubleshooting and all that kind of stuff. You've messed around with hacking. Now what you want to start doing is really leveling up. Now this is where you're going to go even deeper into the rabbit hole. Now there's a couple different directions you can go from here. One of the most obvious that people say is to go to school. This is not for everybody, but if you have the time, money, and resources, I would encourage people to go to an associate's degree or something like that, and I'll tell you why. There's a lot of resources that universities have that you won't get outside of a university. Those resources are networking. Like, I'm talking not like network topology and engineering. I'm saying people. You'll meet other people who are in your class who are already doing it. You'll meet people who your instructors who've already been doing it for a long time. You'll meet they have apprentice programs. They have student programs. They have all kinds of programs in the actual school that will allow you'll have advantages that somebody outside the school system don't have. So working student programs is awesome. You're getting experience while you're learning. And then when you get out, you have that degree in your hands, and you have some experience from working on projects and working as a working student or an apprentice or whatever, internships. And then you could take that and level up immediately when you've got your degree. Now, let's say degree is not in your, like, you just can't do that. You don't have the time. You have 3 kids. You don't have the money to do it. You don't believe in college, whatever it happens to be, right? There is another way for you, right? And it's not just the military. That is another path, by the way. Military is if you have the strength to do it, is really not for everybody. But if you can do it, and if you have multiple reasons why you want to go into the military, I always tell people, don't go in for one reason. Don't go in for just college. Don't go in for just the experience. Go for like multiple reasons. Like, go because you want to travel the world. Go because you want, go for multiple reasons, because they're going to put you through the ringer. They're going to use and abuse you. So you got to do the same back, right? So have more than one reason if you go. Now, if you do go, wow, so it's going to open up all kinds of doors, military. So we talked about college. We talked about military. What are other things that you could do to get your foot in the door? Another thing you can do is look at local jobs, like look at local small businesses that are looking for somebody to get to do IT. Um, that's going to be a lot more difficult. There's not going to be a lot of them, but they're usually going to be like a local field tech, help desk job, something like that. You can find them, and it's going to be hard because they're not. These are jobs that don't take. They don't. You don't need a degree. You don't need a certification. All they want is for you to show up. Like a lot of times they'll ask for like at least have a GED. They'll be like that, something like that, right? It's not going to pay a lot, but it's a great way to get your foot in the door and start learning actual IT. A lot of times they'll even teach you on the job to do simple things. Another thing you can do, my favorite thing to tell people to do, because I really think that this will work. It worked for me and worked for many other people who I talk to. Is start where you are. If you happen to be in retail, you're a retail clerk. They have an IT department. Start talking to them. Try to make a lateral change in TJ Maxx or wherever you work. If you happen to be in the restaurant industry, wherever you happen to be in the restaurant industry, they also have an IT department. Figure it out and then do a lateral change within that company that you're working at. You work at Culver's, you work at McDonald's, whatever. They have an IT department. Figure out how you can do a lateral change at McDonald's to go work for the IT. You work at Walmart, another retail chain, same thing. They have a robust IT department. Try to make a lateral change that way. Wherever the healthcare industry, financial sector, government sector. I was in the military as a security weapons specialist. I was a security police officer in Air Force, U.S. Air Force, and I made a lateral change, cross trained into com. That's what we called it at the time. Now it's called something else. But I made a lateral change, and man, it changed my whole life. Like that's what you can do, make a lateral change. So whatever situation you happen to be in, there is a path forward. If you don't know anything, it's gonna take time, right? I'm not gonna lie to you, say, yo, just get a CCNA, get a Security Plus, and magically you'll have a job. That's just not how this career works because they need qualified people that they can trust to do the work. And you gotta show that you have skin in the game, and that is time, money, and energy and knowledge. Like that is skills. That's what they want to see for you to get in this field. Somebody said I went to school, then got my CCNA and did a lot of labs. I'm now a network engineer. A plus is a waste. So yeah, so if you already listen, if you already have skills, like it's a waste of your time. Like I know that the Simone Bees, who is probably uh, the the biggest TikToker and YouTuber in the space of GovTech and GRC. She is probably the biggest. Look her up. She's awesome. Like her content is incredible. It's she started at like 19 years old as a software engineer and started making like $100,000 at 20 years old or something crazy, right? Not everybody's a genius, right? Not everybody is writing code in as a teenager, right? Most of us are drinking beer and shit at 19. You know, most of in the military, fucking shooting, get shot at shit. Like we're not all software engineers and shit at 19, right? But that's her. Like she's a brilliant. Like her content is awesome. She says the same thing you just said, that A plus is a waste of time. It's if you are a beginner, it's not a waste of time. If you already take labs, if you already know this stuff, if you've already been in this for a while, then yes, it's you don't like you already 3 steps ahead of A plus. Don't do it. But if you know nothing at all and you really don't know the common body of knowledge of IT at all, let alone networking and cloud and hardware and software and how it works together, then I'm telling you to do it because it's a common body of knowledge that after you take it, you'll know the language. You'll be like, oh shit, that's what they mean by a LAN versus a WAN. It'll tell you basic things that this guy who has his CCNA already knows that you don't know. So if you're already in school, um, you already hardcore, on your way to doing labs and doing like no, you don't need an A plus. If you're already an IT guy, you don't need it. Like, but if you are brand new, coming off of sanitary engineering, like You don't know nothing about IT, then yes, CompTIA A plus is good. It's not a waste of time. That's my personal experience. The first one I took, and after I took it, was like a light opened up. I was like, oh, this is how it works. It was like a light bulb came on. And went on to get the CCNA. I had a CCNA. I let it expire. I don't need it no more. I got CISSP. I got all kinds of other certifications. But that one certification opened up so many doors for me. So I still stand by it if you are new. Let me see. Somebody said, are there any GRC certifications that you would suggest? The best GRC certification, there's quite a few that the GRC positions will take. CISSP, CASP, CRISC, CISA, CISM, but those are professional level certs, right? Those are like top tier, intermediate type. There's ones above that, but those are like big certs that if you're starting this off, Security Plus is one that they'll take, because it's a pretty well-rounded understanding of it. If you want something more focused, there's the CGRC from ISC2 squared. I have that one. That one's pretty good, but it's very focused right now. I think they'll change it in the future, but right now it's very focused on NIST 800, which is NIST. I know I'm speaking a whole nother language, it's risk management framework, but that's one that I would recommend if you're trying to do government work GRC. Then yeah, CGRC is good, but Security Plus is also good for CGRC. And then of course you got your CISSP and the CRISC and CISA and CISM are all also good. Let me see here. I got some people joining me on YouTube. Dang, you on early? Yeah. I have to do it right now because I won't be able to do this tomorrow. So right after work, I went ahead and I'm gonna knock it out. I feel real guilty when I don't do them. I've been doing these so consistently that if I don't do it on a Saturday, I'm like, damn, I just keep thinking about it. So I figured I'm gonna knock it out today. That way, I don't feel so bad not skipping. William Draper, how you doing, man? Yeah, thank God it's Friday. Tariq says, a C risk is a C risk a good certification to get if you already are working in GRC? Yes, C risk is really good. C risk, the ones I've seen working in that me and my peers have, and I'll list them in order of relevance, in order of which ones you should get. It would probably be, I would put the CASP and CISSP kind of on the same level. Those ones in the government space have been the ones that kind of the pick of the litter. And I would say CISP is a little bit above that one because more people know what it is. But the CASP is also really dope, really good for GRC stuff, especially in the government sector. But I've also been solicited from the healthcare sector and aerospace and I don't know, name a sector. There's no sector that doesn't know what CISSP is. So that's why I put that one really high on the list. And then CASP, then I'll say CISA, which is more of an auditing certification, but it's highly regarded in GRC. It's highly regarded. A lot of my bosses have had a CISA, and then a CISM. That's another one that a lot of my bosses have had, and my peers and bosses and my supervisors and stuff. That's a real good one. And then CRISC is also really good. CRISC is also really good. Those kind of the top ones. Like, and then below those ones, I would say a Security Plus. Security Plus might even be up there with a CRISC because more people know what Security Plus is. So Security Plus, it's powerful because so many people know. It's very popular. So those are the top ones I would say that come to mind. Now there are specialists, ones that are specialized, like the CGRC from ISC2 squared. That one specializes in the NIST 800 series. I think that one day I have a feeling they're going to expand it to include other things to be more robust. Like it'll probably include ISO 27001 if it doesn't already. I was one of the I took it a long time ago, so maybe it's changed. But what else? There's one for ISO 27001 that I think is done by the ISACA. And there's a few other ones that are specialized for um, different fields. Like there might be one for I believe there's one for cloud. There's a couple for cloud. I mean, not like a cloud certification. I'm talking about there's one for cloud if you're doing cloud compliance. There's one for that. There's one for I think PCI DSS has one, and there's a couple other specialized CGRC. But the top ones are the ones that I just named. So thanks for that question, Tariq. I appreciate that. Let me go back over here to. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. Let me go back over here to TikTok real quick. If you guys are just joining me, I normally do these on Saturday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but I'm not really going to have time tomorrow because I'm going on a little trip. So I figured I'd go ahead and do it right now after work. Got off work and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to knock this out right now because I ain't going to be able to do it tomorrow. And maybe I'll make it up to you guys by doing another one Sunday. I will try to do that. I always say I'm going to do one Sunday and then I don't fucking do it. So I'm not going to make any promises on that. Candor X says, yes, study A plus, learn fundamentals. Don't take the exam. If you're going for the exam to study security plus, okay, that I could see that. I hear you on that one. What Candor X is saying is that A plus certification is a waste of time. A lot of my colleagues out there in the influencer space say the same thing. They said, don't waste it. Go take a CCNA. Go take a CISSP. That one's better. You know, I'm like, some of these people that have never done IT stuff before, but you're telling them to take a CCNA. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I disagree. But yes, I see what you're saying. Study the fundamentals. What you could do is study the fundamentals of it, learn the core of basic IT information technology, and then lean towards a security plus. Go ahead and go take and sit for the exam for the security plus. Do more studying for the security plus, and then I suppose you could go with that too. But I'm saying, where we probably disagree, Candor X, is that I think it's a marketable certification. Now I could prove it to you. I got the receipts to prove it. Anyway, thoughts on Lynn asked me thoughts on OffSec certs. So OffSec is offensive security. They do Kali Linux, one of my favorite pen testing tools. It's incredible. Like their work in the field has been incredible. I think I've been knowing about them since Backtrack. I don't know if you guys know about Backtrack. Man, their tools are on some other level, man. It's incredible when you even messing around with the basics of their tools will make you learn so much. Even like I'll set up a lab, either a virtual lab or a lab on my network, and I'll set up Kali Linux, which is created and owned by OffSec, offensive security. And then I will set up an attack system with Kali Linux on it. And Kali Linux is basically, it's like an operating system it's a Linux operating system that has a bunch of attack tools on it, a bunch of tools to do, I don't know, Wi-Fi hacking, Bluetooth hacking, you name it, all kinds of packet sniffers and all kinds of stuff that are free that are all packed on this one operating system. And a lot of pen testers use it. So I'll put that on a system, on my network, on a network that I create, and I'll use that to attack different systems. Like I'll have a server, I'll have a workstation, I'll like Windows 2008 or something, and I'll have Windows 2011 or something. And then I'll use the attack system to send packets just to see like how it works, see how I can defend the system. I'll turn off all the security features. This is the kind of training that you want to do. So what do I think about their certifications? Their certifications are incredible. Like if you're a pen tester, if you happen to be in that field, which I'm not, it's like being a mechanic without a wrench if you don't know if you don't have their tools. So their offensive security, they have a set of certifications that um, are based around all their tools that they put. They're not really their tools. Most of them are open source pen testing tools that they just put them all together into one Linux variant. So they took Linux and then they just packed it full of goodies, and then they released it on the earth. And here we have. Let me show you. Let me show you offensive security. They're awesome. Like their top certification is called OSCP, which is an incredible certification where you have to. It's not paper. It's not like a test. It's not like a paper test where it's question and answer. It's like you got to hack some shit. Like that's the test. The test is to hack some shit. Um, and you have like 24 hours to hack a network. That's the test. And if you do it in the 24-hour period, offensive security.com. If you do it within the 24-hour period, then congratulations. You have a certification. Okay, let me see. I believe that's how it works. Let me show you guys my screen here if I can set this thing up real quick. Nope, not slides. Presentation. Let me show you my. If you happen to be watching me on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, I'm about to show you guys my screen. Yeah, so here's offsec.com, offensive security, and they have their premier certification is known as the OSCP, and it's purely hacking. And here's just some of the things they expect you to know. So I guess it is a test, or I thought all that you do is hack. They've got courses, bundles, all kinds of stuff. It's incredible. And my favorite thing on here is they've changed the site a lot. I haven't been on here in a while. Let me see if I can find their tools. Is it still free? Kali Linux still free, or are they charging for it? Yeah, there it is right there. Kali Linux. Incredible. A work of art. They have helped humanity with this. Amazing. If you don't know what this is, like at some point, when you get deeper into this cybersecurity world, you will touch their work. They have made a dent in this universe. It's really, really good stuff. Their certification is fire. Their certification is fire. Like the OSCP is like it's well respected already. So that says I'm saying a lot. And the fact that most pen testers use Kali Linux, use their tools, use their libraries and stuff is telling. Candor says I became a network engineer in about 4 years. Internship was about 6 months. First job 8 months. And so Candor X is this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like he was doing network engineering. He says he became a network engineer in about 4 years. Yeah, I mean this takes a lot of work. It says again a lab. You have to have a lab if you don't have practice experience. Yeah, you have to have. Once you get deeper into this, you want to learn IT. You want to get in this field. At some point, you're gonna have to touch the technology. I know very few IT professionals, GRC professionals, information security professionals who have no background in IT. Most of them had to at some point touch the technology, create a lab. They had to spend some time working on this. I do know a few who did not do this, and I'll be honest, like most who did not have a background either through college, doing projects, or doing their own business, or in even just being a geek or something. Most of those guys who I know who had no experience and just went straight into GRC, and they're doing, maybe they came from management or they came from another field. They're kind of in the dark on some of the deeper things that we need to know as security professionals, because you how good are you going to be on security if you don't know how the fundamentals, how good can you be if you don't know how to protect a server versus a workstation? Like if you don't know the fundamentals. I'm talking about the fun. I'm not telling you you have to be a genius. You have to be able to. I don't know everything. I got roasted a few weeks ago about I didn't know some AD Active Directory stuff, and I got roasted right on a call. Like I didn't know. I don't know everything. I'm not telling you should know everything, but you got to know the basics. And if you don't know the basics, you sometimes you'll just get lost in some of the meetings and stuff we have. So it's better to know as much as possible. Jonathan Weaver says, What school do I like? I'm graduating from UMGC. I like any school that is accredited. I don't have a preference. If that's your question, I don't have a preference on schools, or whether it's Stanford or MIT. I'm more practical. I'm not like, I think if you're like in research or something, or you're developing a firewall, or if you're developing the next Google, or you're developing, like, if you're a scientist, like maybe then it would make sense to be, an MIT guy or Stanford guy. I'm none of that stuff. I'm just a regular dude who's trying to make enough money to take my kids to Japan. You know what I mean? I just have a regular ass life. I'm a regular ass dude who wants to do something for my family. That's me. So I don't care. Like for me personally, I'm not impressed by people's degrees. I'm not impressed by people's certifications. I'm impressed with what you do for your family. That's what impresses me. Um, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you to level up in your life. This is a stepping stone. IT and cybersecurity is fun. It's cool. AI is cool, large language models cool, cloud technology, pen testing, all that stuff's cool, GRC cool, whatever. But really, at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're making money to take care of ourselves and our family. That's at the end of the day. That's for me. That's what it's all about. So I'm not impressed by schools. I'm not impressed how smart a dude is. I'm impressed how big a person's heart is to go through this and take care of themselves and take care of their family. That's what impresses me. That's what blows my mind, personally. I'm more practical. But yeah, I mean, favorite school is one that's accredited and that got you to where you are, that you're paid. So that's cool that you're going to UMGC. Let me see. Let's see. Candor over here is explaining his path to get to network engineering. So one of my favorite things about this group, this core of people who follow me and jump on these calls and stuff, is that you'll get people like Candor X. We don't agree on everything, but he's schooling people on. He's telling you his path and his story, and that right there is it's so worth listening to, because that could be your path too. Can I apply while finishing up my CS degree at WGU? Have about 6 months left, an intern, regular gov. Yes, yes, Nia. So that's one thing I recommend most students do, is that don't wait till you get your degree. A lot of organizations will take you, especially if you're like a year out from your degree, from finishing, and they're like, well, one of our requirements is you have to have a bachelor's degree, and they spell that out in the job description. But if you tell them, if you list it, you got to list it on your profile and on your ATS style resume, or you got to list it there, because what you do is I'm going to WGU, bachelor's degree in computer science, right, and then put the year 2020 2025, right. You put that on your resume though. And the reason why is because if you're within a certain period of time for that degree, they'll still take you, right? with the caveat that this person is going to finish their degree. Sometimes, even if they have a requirement for you to have a degree, you don't have it yet, you can still apply for the job. Another thing I tell students to do is get the experience while you're still in school. If you can get a working student, anything you can get, it's not picky. Like any kind of lab experience, any kind of project experience, any kind of especially internships or apprenticeships, they have them at the school. They'll have all these different they'll have these different cooperative like partnerships with organizations, and they want to be a pipeline to take the best students to go work at the local technical place near you. So yes, like apply right now. Do not wait until you get that piece. A piece of paper is not magic. What's magic is experience. So right now, get as much experience as you can. Do not wait. And that goes for wherever you happen to be, whether you're at a technical school, or if you're at a university, you're a 2 year, you're just getting your associates, you're in the military, whatever it happens to be, whatever organization. Don't wait. Get the experience right now. Do labs right now. Like Candor X was saying, like do labs are super important to get your hands dirty and actually know how to do this stuff. So when you get in, you can hit the ground running. If you have a master's degree and you've never touched a computer, what do you think your chances are of getting a job? Just think about it. Just what do you think your chances are of getting a job in IT? It's going to be harder for you. I'm not telling you you're not going to get one, but it's just going to be harder if you don't have experience. They want somebody who can hit the ground running. Experience is king. Okay, let me see. I got a few more questions on here. Farouk Umar says, thanks a lot for your advice last week. I've been more relaxed with my implementation of controls. Awesome, awesome. Always glad to help. Tariq Baker says, I appreciate you. I've been tuned in for you for about a month now. I'm going back and watching a lot of your old videos. You've inspired me tremendously. Man, thank you so much for that. That's why I do it, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Tariq says, Army officer pay versus government contracting. Is it worth getting out, or is the money really that good on the government side? So I was in the military for 8 years. I was a security police officer in the Air Force, an MP, weapons specialist, grunt, Air Force grunt. Like really, I was a grunt. We're not all chair force. I worked with the Marines in the Army when I was in. That's what we did, and they made fun of us the whole time because we were Air Force, but we did all the same shit they did. But so I cross trained and changed my MOS and went into computers. Um, so I had about 4 years computer experience in 4 years. But to your question, I got out as an E5. Let's look at a pay chart here. Let me show you. An E5 is a sergeant in the Air Force. Let me show you what we got here. Showing my screen. So an E5 military. Whoops. Got my fingers on the wrong buttons here. Military E5 pay. So an E5 these days, and it was a lot less when I was in. I mean, it was a long time ago when I was in. Pay. Now I was pretty much a network engineer when I got out. I had a CCNA. I had lots of extensive experience setting up routers and switches and stuff. I was like a junior network engineer when I got out. But my base pay was, I'm just going to use some real numbers here. I just want to give you an idea. Now you're an officer, so you're going to make a lot more than what I made, but let me just, where's the pay scale at? They have like a military pay scale, military pay chart. Here we go. 2024 pay chart. Let me show you what's up here. So I was an E5. So E5 with 8 years of experience, I was making about $3,000 a month. $3,000 a month. 3,800. And let's take two different pay scales. Let's take an E5 who makes about about $4,000 a month. And let's take an O, let's say you got out as an O2, which is like a lieutenant or some shit. That's 6,000. They make almost twice as much as an E5. An 8-year O2 makes about 6,000. Let's keep that number in mind. One makes 4,000, one makes 6,000. Okay, on the pay chart. That's in the military, enlisted military. So now let's look at another chart here, as the GS chart. I'm going to show you three different pay scales. So we looked at the military pay, and so the average person getting out as an O2 or an E5 is going to make about anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 a month. That's pretty good. I mean, considering all your bills are paid, if you live on the base, your the benefits of the military is nobody can mess with it. But let's look at GS. Let's look at a GS9 pay scale. Let's look at GS9 2021, whatever. We just want any kind of pay scale to give you an idea what's the differences. We're taking like average numbers. We're not talking about somebody who's like got a bunch of experience. Like we're looking at average. So on average, and I think they're talking about per year on this chart. So on this chart, I would like to get some monthly on here, but on this chart, a step, let's say middle of the row, let's say it's a step 3, and I don't know what the steps are. I'm not sure. I don't even know if they still use it. Okay, they do. 2024. I don't know what the steps are, but let's say it was a step 3. Step 3 grade, you were at GS9. They make about $49,000 a year. So that's about 50. How much does a E2 make per year? E2 makes about 30. Okay, so 36,000. A sergeant with 8 years makes about 36,000 a year. An E9 makes about 50,000 a year. So that's a pretty significant pay bump. And let's look at the civilian sector. Like if you got out as an officer or an E5 or E6 or E7, whatever, and you have 8 to 10 years of experience. Let's say you got out and you were a cyber security professional with 10 years of experience, let's say. 10 years experience. 10 years of experience. I'm looking at images. That's why these images popping up. I'm just trying to get an average of how much they make. I'm trying to get some idea. And they're making about $110,000 a year, something like that. 10 years of experience. It depends on what part of the country you're in. But if, let's say Colorado, that's where I'm at, you make about $110,000, $120,000 a year here locally. Down south, they make a little bit less, but your money goes a little bit farther down there. 2 years experience, 130,000, security plus, master's starting. Okay, it's more like 100. Let's say about 130, 120,000 a year. So you're making about twice as much. Now, let me put that in perspective. I'm just trying to give you like a real world understanding of how this really works, so it makes more sense. So military, as a serviceman, yes, you're making 30, 40,000. But one of the things that my captain told me when I was getting out, I told him, man, I'm on my, I didn't say man, I said, sir, I'm thinking about sat in his office. He called me in because I was already starting to put my papers in. I was pretty good airman, so he, called me in and said, look, man, are you sure you want to get out? Sergeant, you sure you want to get out? I said, yes, sir, I'm pretty sure. And I told him the reasons why and stuff. I just gotten back from it. The real reason was because I got back from Afghanistan, and these MFs were trying to send me to Iraq. And I was like, I just had a kid. I was like, man, what are you guys doing? What are we? I got a daughter to raise. Like, you gonna send me? like I'm getting out of here. I was in Afghanistan. They were talking about there were landmines all over the place. I was like, I'm getting the f out of here. I mean, that was a near death experience, man. I was like, why am I here? What am I doing? Anyway, so great experience, but wow, holy crap. So anyway, he sat me down and he's like, Sergeant, are you sure you want to get out? I said, yes. He said, look, I know you only make, he started writing down on the boards like, look, you make how much you make? E5, okay, you make about 36,000 a year, right? I said, yeah, roughly. And he said, listen, you get out, you're gonna make about 50, right? And I'm thinking in my mind, it's gonna be more like 80 when I get out, right? But he says, let's say you make, he said, look, let's say you make 60, right? Let's go crazy and say you're gonna make 60 when you get out. He says, look, you're gonna have to pay for your medical, you're gonna have to pay for you're gonna have a mortgage, you live on base, right? I said, yeah. He said, you don't have a mortgage right now. You have to pay for your mortgage, you're gonna have to pay for your education, you're gonna have to pay for you have a kid? Yes. You have to pay for this, that, this. He was just going down a list. He says, at the end of the day, you're still going to be making a little bit less than what you make in the military. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, I don't know, I'll probably make way more than that. And I have bigger reasons anyway to get out. It didn't matter what he put on that board. I was going to get out. Um, but I said, well, thank you. Thanks for your time. I'll think about it. And I got out. Anyway. Turns out he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right. So I got out. I wasn't making nowhere near 60 when I first got out. I was making like 45. Then I got a house. I had all these bills. I was like, what the hell? I'd been in the military my entire adult life, so I'd never experienced that level of like there were so many bills, like I was like, what is going on? So I had to adjust to that, but he was right. One of the things they don't pay you a lot in the military, whether you're a lieutenant or you're, sergeant or whatever, but they pay for all your housing's paid for, your education's paid for, your gym memberships paid for, your what all that stuff's paid for. Uh, that's one thing to keep in mind. And these days, if you get out in 8 years, you're gonna make way more than 40. You're gonna make like 100. You're gonna make way. There's no comparison. Like as a contractor, you're gonna make way more than that. Now, granted, the prices of things have exploded since I got out, but it's still gonna be, it's still gonna pay you a lot of money. So just keep everything in mind. If you get out, there's pros and cons. So, and I had another professional on here, Ryan. Ryan came on. Watch one of my old podcasts, and Ryan was a lieutenant or a captain, I think, when he got out. He retired in the military. Just check out my old lives on. Just go back through and look for my interview I had with Ryan. I've only done like 3 interviews, so it'll be easy to find them. And I did it like 2 months ago or something. But Ryan's the white dude that I interviewed. So Ryan, man, great experience. So Ryan, he said he was in the military, he retired, right? And then when he got out, he was a GS. And then he gave the pros and cons of being a GS versus military versus a contractor. Now he's a contractor. And what he said was, as a GS, they paid more and you get all the benefits. Most of the benefits you get in the military, you get in as a GS. But he said the cons were that they want you to do all of this dog and pony show sometimes. They want to act like the military a little bit. by putting all, but you're not the military, but they want to put all these extra obligations to be the military. So he didn't really like that. He said, but the cons were that the good things, the pros was that they give you all of these, you get great benefits. And then he got out as a contract and he says the pros, and both of us agreed on this one, is that you get paid way more. You're treated more like an adult because they give you responsibility. They expect you to just do it. And as a vet, you will have had so much experience. Like you'll have people's lives are in your hands sometimes. People's lives are in your hands as in the military. You don't have that level of responsibility is not does not usually exist outside the military. So they treat you like an adult. Like when you get out there in the field. The bad things about the contracting world, like you get paid and all that kind of stuff, but it's volatile. They can let you go at the blink of an eye. Like it doesn't. There's no camaraderie. It's every man for himself. It's dog eat dog. And the more you go into the private sector, the more it's like that. Because I went right into the private sector that had nothing to do with the military, the government, or nothing, and it's even more in that direction. Like they're expecting you to know even more, and there's more responsibility, and it's dog eat dog. Like it's you got to know your stuff. So I just wanted to give you like a reference. Yeah, so take that for what it's worth. Let me see. Adam says, same with the SOC and pen testing. It's not guaranteed you have a Saturday or Sunday off. It's how it's how you weigh pros and cons or what fits. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, I got a few other questions on TikTok. I'm not ignoring you guys. I just got a lot of people talking to me. So Orange Perk says, I'm in IT audit at a major bank, working on information security. Good start to find another job, or is it going back to school for a master's in computer science, a better pivot at a bank? No, you're in a very good position. Like, you don't have to go back to school, man. Your experience as an IT auditor, it should open up a lot of doors for you. What you should know is that different industries have different keywords. Like for example, you're an IT auditor. We don't in the government sector, whether you're a contractor or a military, a veteran, if you're working directly in the military or whatever, they don't really call it an IT audit. They call it an assessor. You see the word auditor come up every now and then, but mostly they call it either a validator or an assessor. They just use different words, but they're doing the same thing you're doing at the bank. Like the same. What blew my mind, like this blew my mind. I learned this like within the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, my portfolio, my resume has been very diversified. Like I've worked with several different agencies. I worked with pharma. I worked with manufacturing, financial sector, a little bit of healthcare. I'm coming from aerospace and government sector, so now I have this really well-rounded understanding of how all this stuff works. Right? I have so much to tell you guys. I've seen the other side of the moon, right, with GRC stuff. And I can tell you, as an auditor, the same thing that you do for the bank is very, very similar to what they'll do at retail. They just call it different things. They use a different framework. In retail, they use PCI DSS. In the government sector, they don't call it IT auditing. They call it SCA, security control assessor. They just call it different things, but they're doing the same thing that you do as an IT auditor. So if you're trying to move to another as an IT professional or cybersecurity professional or information security professional, whatever, you just need to understand what framework and standard that industry is using. As working in the financial sector, if you were trying to go into the government sector or aerospace, you'd want to use some of the keywords that they use, like assessor. You would say, I assessed 400 systems, right? Like you would, if for the financial sector, you'd say it did an audit for 400 systems. That for them, they would say uh, assessed 400 systems in three different departments. They're just using different words, and that's just one of the words. Another thing is the frameworks. Like you probably are using either Sarbanes-Oxley or PCI DSS. I don't know what you're using, but in the government sector, they use NIST 800. Here's the magic. They kind of do the same thing. They're all using best security practices. So you just need to put those best security practices on your resume to open up the doors to other industries. If you wanted to go into another industry, if you want, it depends on what you're trying to pivot to. Like if you're trying to be an upper level manager, you might need to go get a master's degree, right? I don't know what you're trying to do. Um, yeah, and then Candor X asked a really important question. He says, "Do you do anything related to IT in terms of auditing?" And what he's trying to get at is like, do you know what technical knowledge do you have of the information systems that you're auditing? Like, are you running the scans? What tools are you using? Those are good questions because you need to list that stuff on your resume. Like what tools if you are using Qualys, you need to explain I use Qualys on to scan a enterprise of 1,000 systems, right? Everybody uses those tools, like not just financial sector, but the healthcare sector and the government sector. All of those people use tools similar to that. And if you know Qualys, you probably can learn Tenable really fast if they're using that in whatever sector. How important is TCP/IP? My brother-in-law is drilling me that I need to learn there before anything. TCP/IP for networking is super important. The deeper you go into networking, the more important TCP/IP is. About the three-way handshake and the difference between TCP and UDP, how the packets work on the network is very, very important the deeper you go into networking. I will tell you this. What he's probably getting at is networking in general. For information technology, networking is one of the most important things you need to know. It's not, you don't need to program. You don't need to know how to program, but you do need to know a little bit of networking. I've been doing this for 20 years. I program for fun, but none of the jobs I've had required me to do networking. I make six figures. I work from home, and I'm not a programmer. When I do program, I do it for fun. Like I do it because I want to make an app or I want to mess around with something. But it's never been a part of my job. But networking, I've had to know how that works. I'll be sitting in a meeting and they'll be talking about, okay, we're on this subnet. Here's the IPs for this. Like you'll have to know how all that stuff works. So networking, what he means is network engineering. You will have to know some of that. You absolutely, the more you know about it, the better. There's a few things I would say that are absolutely going to help you in your career if you're trying to do, if you're trying to be in IT. One would be networking. Networking, like you don't even have to know how to break down packets or anything like that. It's not even that serious. If you're Because if you're trying to be a network engineer, at some point you have to know this. If you're trying to be a cybersecurity analyst, you probably have to know how to break down packets and all that kind of stuff, and what a subnet mask is and all that kind of bullshit. But in the beginning of your career, if you're just a help desk person or field tech, you don't even have to go that deep into what TCP into the breakdown of TCP/IP. You do need to have an understanding of networking. That's TCP/IP. But you don't have to go super, super, super deep until you get into those, until you go down one of those specializations. Then yes, you got to know a lot about it. Anyway, the main things I would say you need to know would be networking, TCP/IP. Another one recently would be cloud. You don't have to go super deep into it, but you need to know what it is because just about everybody's using it now. You need to know. CLI or command line interface. how to mess around with the back end of computers, like not just the GUI interface, but how to type on a command line. Um, I would argue that you need to know a little bit of either Linux or Unix. A little bit of Linux or Unix, I would say, was going to really help you out so much. Um, the difference between a client and a server is another important thing to know, and how hardware and software work together, how operating systems and software work together. I mean, operating systems and applications work together. Those are kind of the main things. And um, what I'm telling you to know is the core body of IT knowledge, which you can find in the CompTIA A Plus. They break it down really nicely. In other places, like I think the Google Support IT also does it. Like you just need to go somewhere where they teach you the basics of IT first, and then go from there and build from there. But I get in most of those, no, I would argue in every single one of any kind of IT fundamentals worth its salt is going to include TCP/IP. So your brother-in-law's right. Let me see here. Yeah, Candor X is saying, do you mean TCP/IP? If so, it's very important. But this is core fundamental knowledge. Yes, absolutely, core fundamental knowledge. As TCP/IP is a category of study, it's not an independent certification. Exactly. Yes, it's a part of networking fundamentals. You need that fundamental knowledge. You're right, boss. Fundamentals key. Yep, fundamentals are going to be the ground. Like if you, the more you know about the fundamentals, the better you're going to be as an IT professional, because you'll understand what it is you're protecting. What Give you an example. If one of the things that one of the attacks that's used in um, against systems is called the denial of service attack. And so one of the methods of doing a denial of service attack is um, to send packets to a system, to flood a system with packets. Just send a whole bunch of, like, right now I'm using the word packet. You're like, what the hell's that? TCP/IP. Understanding that will let you understand what that is. T- Literally, it's what you're using to see me. Like, it's the packets is the data that's being broken down, sent over the network, wired or wireless, putting it all back together on your end to see an image of me. It's absolutely beautiful and magical once you start to understand how it works. But one of the things somebody can do is, rather than using it to do something informative or send information, is they can just send so many packets that it floods your system and you can't do anything. It's called the denial of service attack. And so, as cybersecurity professionals, we would know, okay, how can we make it so that people can't do that? We know that that's a vulnerability that somebody can exploit or use to their advantage. How can what kind of tools can we use? What kind of techniques can we use to make it so that they can't do a denial of service attack on this system? Or how can we have a backup to where even if they do a denial of service attack, our other system comes in? The more you know about TCP/IP, the fundamentals, the more you'll be able to figure that kind of stuff out and say, oh, okay, this is how we can do it. Um, Bearded Cutie says, Bearded Cutie says, I'm finishing my degree in IT, got my Security Plus intern at a Fortune 100 company, working PCI. Any tip? You're going the right direction. That's exactly what you need to know. One tip would be to work your ass off so you can stay in that Fortune 100 company. Like, go ahead and like work your ass off, work extra hours, be a team player, so that maybe they'll hire you when your internship is done. Because a lot of times they're looking for somebody who not only knows the information, but can work their ass off. That's why veterans do really good because we're like dogs, man. We'll just keep working and working and working and work. We're not afraid to work. And when you find a person like that in your organization, you're like, man, I want to keep this guy. This MF is working their ass off. I want to keep. So work your ass off. That's what I would say. Put in extra hours. Be a team player. Do whatever you got to do to get in that slot, and then use. Remember, it's a stepping stone, right? You're using this as a stepping stone to go to another level. So even if the place sucks, put that time in. Learn as much as you can. Is that you said PCI? Learn as much as you can about PCI DSS if that's what you mean. I don't know if that's what you mean, but learn as much as you can about PCI DSS. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're not trying to do compliance, might not be that important for you. But I would argue if you put that on your resume, it's gonna open so many doors if you know PCI DSS, or if you know whatever security policy that they're whatever regulation or policy that they're basing their security on. If you put that on your resume and that you know how to implement it, it's going to open up so many doors for you. I'm telling you, it's opened up so many doors for me. Just listen things like ISO 27001, PCI DSS, NIST 800, NIST cybersecurity framework. It's really a missed opportunity. I'm surprised more people don't do it. I'm on here telling you guys, hey, listen, this is a door you need to open for yourself. Even if you don't plan on doing GRC stuff, once you put that these standards and these regulations on your resume, you will get contacted because not many people know this stuff, and there's not much competition at this level. When you start putting that on your resume, there's just not much competition. Let me see. I got some more questions here. I'm gonna keep this one kind of short, guys. I'm not gonna do too much more on this one. I wanted to jump on this one. For those of you guys who are wondering why I'm doing this on Friday, it's because I'm not going to be able to do this on Saturday at 1:00 Mountain Standard Time like I normally do. So I'm knocking it out today. Will Reed says TCPI DSS PCI TCP/IP versus UDP is like the difference between calling your friend on the phone, TCP. He means TCP. Yeah, TCP/IP. Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. He's saying it's the difference between calling your friend on the phone versus sending your friend Morse code, sending UDP. TCP/IP provides a verification where UDP has no verification. Now, I think you mean TCP versus UDP. So TCP does a three-way handshake. It sends a packet and then verifies, hey, did you get that packet? And then it sends back a packet saying, yes, I got the packet. And then it just keeps doing that. It's verifying the message back and forth. TCP is doing this. It's a more secure, more stable, not secure, a more stable form of connection. Whereas UDP, now you might be thinking, well, why would you not want something more stable? UDP is like shooting bullets. It's just shooting the message, and some of the packets might not make it there, but you're just shooting the mess. Why would you not use TCP? Well, there's certain times when you wouldn't, like a stream, for example. A stream where it's super important to have as much data going to the person as possible in a continuous stream where its speed is very important, is as important as as the reliability of your connection. UDP becomes important in things like streaming, whereas TCP will slow that connection down a bit. And I think streaming these days uses a combination of both. But the best way to think about it is like Will said. It's like TCP is more like there's feedback. You're calling the person on the phone, they can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. And then the information is going back and forth. UDP is like Morse code where you're hitting the button and it's just sending you don't have a verification on whether they got the message or not. It's just sending the packets. But yeah, TCP is super important to know. And that's one aspect of of TCP. I know I'm probably blew it. I'm not a network guy, but not anymore. Let me see. Will said, for the TikTok person who said that I think that they're working with TCP. He says, learn as much as you can about TCP/IP DSS for controls, how they're assessed, and how they're implemented. Absolutely. And if you can put that on your resume, that you are a part of that process and you know everything about how TCP PCI DSS works, the better. Because they want to know that you can implement it, not that you just know the book knowledge of it. Hey Larry, thanks for showing up, man. I gotta knock this out because I can't do this tomorrow. Logan says, let me see. That's how I got offered my offer at Khaki as a 40-something college student, a vet. Yeah, being a vet is very powerful. Very, very powerful. Okay, let me go back to TikTok. Hey man, show me the sliding window technique. I'd have to take a look, man. I'm not a network guy. It's a networking concept that I would have to take a look at it. I don't remember exactly how it works. If that's what you're talking about. Let me see. Is there a shortcut to creating a security control traceability matrix? Yes, steal it. Steal it. That's the secret. Steal it. So there's some on the internet right now. Use somebody else's and then build off of what they have. Um, that's the shortest cut I could tell you is to steal it from somebody else and then build off of what they have. What's the most lucrative cybersecurity cert? What is the most lucrative cybersecurity cert? The one that makes the most money. It depends. It depends on the job. Like it depends on what. Well, here, let me give you an understanding how certs work. So you got entry level certs, you've got intermediate certs, which are like professional level certs, and you got expert level certifications. Entry level certs. Entry level certs, a good example would be A plus. CompTIA A plus is an entry level certification. That's why so many people are shitting on it. Say, oh, don't get it. It sucks. It's not marketable. Whatever. Because it's an entry level certification. Another entry level certification will be Network Plus. It's probably entry level certification. What's another one? Entry level certifications, and each part of IT has an entry level certification. If you're trying to get an Azure cloud certification, they have an entry level cert. If you're trying to get an AWS certification, ACP, I think it's called. I don't remember what it's called, but they also have an entry level cert. Every industry, networking, cybersecurity, you name it, virtualization, all these have certs. They all have an entry level certification. They usually don't cost very much. They're easier tests normally. They have, some of them have some marketability, like the A plus, CompTIA A plus has some marketability. AWS has their entry level certifications pretty good. Some of them have some traction. Then you get to intermediate to something a step above those, right? Before we even get to the professional level certs, let's talk about intermediate. Intermediate certs will be like Security Plus. Another one would be like when they had it CCE and T. I think that was an entry level. I don't know if that was entry level. I don't know. They've changed it. Vendor certs they change them all the time. Vendor cert is like Windows has its own certification. Cisco has its own certifications. So entry level certs are lower tier. Then you got your intermediate certs. And Security Plus will be an example of that, of a security based intermediate certification. And probably a CCNA will be a intermediate certification. It's considered intermediate, but it's hard as hell. And then they've got all these different specializations CNA. So yeah, those are two examples. One's a networking CCNA, like a networking intermediate. Professional level certs, a little bit above your intermediate, will be CISSP, CASP, CRISC, CISA, CISM. Those are professional level certs. Cisco would be CCNP. There's like 4 or 5 different CCNPs last time I checked. I think that VMware has their own professional level certs. Juniper has their own professional level certs. AWS, Azure, all of them have a professional level cert. You have to take the entry level and like an entry level and an intermediate level to get to the professional level cert. Some of them are a combination of a bunch of certs together to get the inter. Usually, professional level certs are difficult. They're difficult to get, and then you can't even take them unless you have X amount of years of experience. Above your entry level, above your professional level, is something called a expert level certification. So very few people on planet Earth, I'm not exaggerating, have these certifications. They're super hard. They have a very high point. The entry is super hard. It's not. It's usually people who've been doing this for 10, 20 years, or who just happen to be a genius at networking. For whatever, they're just like a Mozart of networking, or a Mozart of programming, or whatever. Take your pick. They're just a genius, or they just have a ton of experience and they just know the stuff like it's the back of their hand. Expert level certs will be a CCIE on the networking side. I think Juniper has their own expert level cert, and then you've got another expert level cert will be the GSE from help me out here, guys. GS the GI SANS courses, right? SANS courses also have an expert level. There's a few expert level certs. Very, very few people have the time, money, or energy to get those, or a brain to get the expert level certs. So the most lucrative certs are going to be the professional level certs and the expert level certs. Some of the expert level certs, just having the certification alone, no degree, very little experience, will get you easily 6 figures. Like just having the cert, because it's so damn hard. Just the cert alone, like very little experience, just the cert alone probably get you 6 figures. Professional level certs, you usually have to already have experience to get those. They even say you can't even sit for this test unless you had X years of experience. So those will usually get you some money too. But you usually already have experience when you get those. The entry level certs, the reason why people are trying to discourage you from doing an A+ certification because they can, it's useless, is because they just don't pay very much. They just don't pay. It's like starting from the ground floor, like you're starting from zero. But it's really, really great for people who are really starting from zero. If you're really starting from zero, it's really good to start there, because where else are you going to start? I mean, everybody got to start somewhere. So yeah, hope that enlightens you a little bit. What is your specialty in cybersecurity? My specialty is GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. That means that I'll go to an organization and they'll have, if it's in retail, for example, if I go work for a retail company, they have to abide by something called PCI DSS, which protects credit card information. So, excuse me, I'll come in there as an expert to say, look, let me see your network. Let me see what you guys got going on. Let me see your policies. Let me see everything you have. I'll ask all the right questions. And then I'll say, okay, according to PCI DSS, we have to have this network separated. It looks like you guys don't have it. According to PCI DSS, we have to have a policy that explains all of our security features. Can I see that? Okay, you guys have one, but it wasn't signed by your upper level leadership. That's the kind of stuff I do. I do it mostly for the government, but I've done it from pharma. I've done it for different industries. That's what I do in cybersecurity. It's not really hands-on. I'm not like applying firewalls or putting rules in the firewalls or whatever. I'm not setting up VLANs. I'm not a network engineer. I'm mostly doing policy, cybersecurity stuff. It's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of writing. It's a lot of documentation and stuff. I got laid off back in February, working as a security engineer in since 2021. I loved it. I can't get back in. What's your background? What did you do in cybersecurity? Maybe the field has changed. I need to know your industry, like what I need to know your background. Are you a contractor? I am a contractor. I started off in the government. Like I used to be a serviceman. I was in the military doing this stuff. I did networking in the military. I did a help desk job in the military, and I also did information security in the military. And then I got out, became a contractor, and then I worked in the contractor side as for the government, and then I also worked like a purely private sector. So I've done a little bit of all these things. I just finished my CompTIA A plus, working on the Network Plus and CCNA. What is the best way to jump into cyber? The best way is to get experience. The best way is to get experience, not certifications. Um, Certifications is, I'm not telling you don't do it. I've got plenty of certifications. That's great, but experience is king. Like what you need to do is spend some time getting actual experience. That means wherever you happen to work, talk to the IT department, see if you can get some hands-on experience there. If there's some kind of volunteer work you can do, and you happen to know how to set up a network really good, go ahead and try to volunteer your time to do that. So you can put that on your resume that you set up 4 networks for XYZ organization. Um, that you to be a freelancer, do free work to or paid work, even freelance work to do set up router switches and systems, removing malware from people's computers. Anything you can put on your resume to show that you know how to do the stuff. Do labs in your house. Like that's what I used to mess around with labs in my house all the time. Take computers apart, put them back together. Any of that stuff where you're hands on is what you want to do. You want to have something that you've done on your resume, not just degrees and certifications and stuff. It'll help you a lot. Uh, PEPCAC ticketing issue. Um, Problem exists between keyboard and I can't remember what it means. J App says, "Do you know much about security engineering? I'm a infra engineer trying to transition. I know a little bit about security engineering. Um, I'm not super smart on it, but I know how to go through the system development lifecycle for engineering. I couldn't tell you how to like put satellite systems together or anything. Yeah, I know a little bit about system security engineering. I actually did it. It was one of my jobs. What are your thoughts on getting the CCST networking and then intros to cyber? I'm not a CCST. I believe that's Cisco's new certification, isn't it? I'm curious. CCST. I think that's a Cisco certification, entry level Cisco cert. Is it? Could be wrong. I've been out of networking for quite some time, so yes, Cisco certified support technician. There's a dude on here who's an expert network engineer who probably be able to give you more information on that. He said, I think he said just go straight to the CCNA. I don't know. I'm not a network engineer. I would say you can't go wrong with a Security Plus if you're trying to go that route. If you're trying to do, but if you're, what are your thoughts on getting a CCST networking and an intro to cyber? Oh man, well, what's your background? What's your like? What experience do you have? If you're absolutely new, I always encourage people to take those entry level certifications because that's where I started, and it helped me out quite a bit to learn the basics before I dove into like harder stuff. like a Security Plus or a CCNA. Like I took an A plus certification, my first certifications, A plus certification, which people don't say, don't do it, don't. It's a waste of time. It wasn't a waste of time for me because I learned a lot of stuff, and actually, it's pretty marketable if you're a new guy. I took the the CompTIA Network Plus. Not very marketable. The information in there is pretty thin. Um, is it a good entry level? I would say yeah. I mean, if you really know nothing, I wouldn't sit for the test, but it's the information on there is pretty basic, so you could like learn the stuff. Um, I think entry level certifications are good to learn things. Not so good for marketability, with the exception of like an A plus. Security Plus is a really good transition to help you to get your foot in the door. More important than your certifications is how to get experience. Like wherever you happen to be, try to get experience. Try to make a lateral change to get more experience is one of the most important things that you can do. But yeah, if you have no experience at all, if you have no experience at all, and you're starting from scratch, I think entry level certifications are good to learn, and then start building from there. Once you get the knowledge. Let me see. Is WGU good enough to get into cybersecurity? Yes, WGU. I know a lot of people who have degrees from there. I think it's a pretty like their prices are pretty good. It's a reputable. It's an accredited college. One of the most important things, Mitch. What you really want to do, like I keep saying, I'm gonna keep saying it until the world ends, is that you got to get experience while you're in school, remote school, in like sitting in a class, whatever. Get experience while you're still going to school. Your degree is great, your certifications are great, but while you're in school, start getting experience, start building your own networks, fixing people's networks, doing freelance work, doing voluntary work, being a working student. Like get experience as best you can, starting right now. Starting right now. So that's the kind of stuff that organizations are looking for. They want to see you hit the ground running. And if you just have a piece of paper, it's not enough. And actually and when you get into the actual interview, a lot of times they don't even ask about your degree. They don't even ask about your certifications. They see it on the paper, like, okay, bachelor's degree. All right. They're not gonna ask you about it. They're just gonna be like, what did you do? What have you done? Can you tell me what you've done to implement a network? Can you tell me how you implemented this or that? That's the kind of stuff they want to see. Problem exists between keyboard and chair. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Forgot about that one. Let me see. Security Plus. How about Security Plus? Security Plus is fire. Um, wow, you're live today. Yeah, I had to do it today because I can't do it tomorrow. I got some stuff to do today, so I had to do it right after work. It's hard to do it after work, man. I'm already drained. Uh, there's a new cert. There's a new cert from ISC2 Square called CGRC. Actually, it's not new, so I have that certification. So it used to be called the ISC2 CAP certification, um, Certified Authorization Professional, and now then they rebranded it into CGRC. Brilliant move because now CGRC is becoming like a buzzword. IC2 Squared, I got to give it to them. They're very, very good at marketing, and that was the right move to make. And now the next thing I think they should do is broaden it so that it's not just for the NIST 800. That would be brilliant. Like if they made it so that it's all CGRC, like it's PCI-DSS, it's SOC 2, like they merge all of those things together. That would be brilliant. I think that's the direction they're about to go because they've done a really, really good job of marketing all their certifications so far. And I think that that's the direction that they're about to go with that one. Is there a place or a list for certs that you said in order Thanks for the amazing. Oh man, yes, there is. Check this out. If you haven't seen this before, this is gonna blow your mind. This is from some random ass dude. Um, and he's got this really awesome breakdown. If you go to Google and type in security, I'm gonna do this live. I'm gonna do this live so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I can show you what I mean. You go to Google and you're gonna type in security progress. Security certification progression or roadmap. Either one will do. I'm gonna say security certification roadmap. I believe this will come up with it. Yeah, there it is right there. But that it's like 3 down. But let's see if we can say progression. Security certification progression chart. Okay, here it is. Yep. Keyword is this. Go to Google or Bing or whatever and type in security certification progression chart. You're gonna come up. You're gonna find some dude's site called Paul Jeremy Media. This dude has one of the best roadmaps for all these certifications I'm talking about. And this right here, haven't been doing this for many years, is very accurate the way he did this. So across the top, for those of you who are listening to me right now, what he has in columns is the different fields in cybersecurity or in IT. He's got the first one is going from left to right is communication and networking, network security, communication and network security. The next one is IAM, which I think is identification and authorization management. No, and it has a list of certifications going down. The next one, next column is security architecture and engineering. The next one is asset security. The next one is security and risk management. The next one is security assessment and testing. Then you got software security, and then security operations. So it's all aspects of security in these different categories. Then from the bottom to the top, he has beginner, intermediate, and expert. In the beginner section, he has the ones that I named. Like he has CompTIA A plus. He's got a bunch of them that I've never even heard of. He's got CSP Security Project Plus. He's got Network Plus, A plus. Just a bunch of certifications on the bottom, right? And then as you go up, they get more and more going from intermediate all the way up to expert. So then in the intermediate, in the middle, he's got things like AWS CSS, which is, let me see if I can see what that is. Amazon Web Services Certified Security Specialist. He's got CCSP, which is a Checkpoint Certified Security Expert. He's got, this is all intermediate. He's got, let me see one that I recognize here. CGIA. Oh, that's intermediate, huh? CGIA, which is from SANS. I'm familiar with that one. He's got the Red Hat Certified System Administrator. Let me see if I can find one more popular. In this same band, he's got Security Plus. He has kind of like in beginner, which he could probably boost that one up a little bit. But that he's got that one like as beginner, like way in the beginner phases. Other intermediate ones he's got besides the GCIA is like let me see, that I've heard of or that might be popular. You might have heard of. Let me see. CCNA should be here somewhere. CCNA, yeah, he's got the CCNA or the Cisco Certified Network Associate is intermediate. He's calling that one intermediate. And then as you work your way up, you run into the CRISC, the CASP Plus, the CGRC as you work your way into up to expert level. And right on expert, he has CISSP, which I guess CISSP is an expert level certification. But above CISSP and CASP and CISM and CISA, he's got upper tier certifications that rarely people get, like the CCIE. He's got ITIL Master. He's got GSE, which is one of the ones I named. Is like not many people have that, which is like GREM. I don't even know what that is. He's got OSCP as intermediate, and then above, way above that one, is something called the OSEE, which is an offensive security exploitation expert. So these are all the hardest, most ridiculously expensive certifications you can take. So to find this, again, just go to Bing, go to Google, go to wherever your favorite search engine is, and type in security certification progression. And you'll find pauljeremy.com, and he's got this incredible breakdown of all the certifications. I wish that the government or somebody would adopt this because this is really well done. And he's been keeping it up to date. I mean, I really like the way he did this. All right, I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to answer questions as quickly as possible, then I'm going to jump off this thing. I've been talking for about an hour and 30 minutes. Getting experience is hard because no one wants to hire. You probably won't want the jobs that do want to hire you, but I'm telling you, take those jobs try to get into those jobs that nobody wants, like those idols. If you don't have a degree, you don't have certification, you have no experience, what you got to do is get your foot in the door. And Will says, how about PMP listed as expert level? Security and risk management certification. PMP is not directly related to security and risk management. So that's an interesting point, Will. But you know who would disagree with you about that? Is there's something called the NICE Cybersecurity Workforce, and they actually list PMP as part of the cybersecurity workforce. And I think that they do that because it's such an important supportive role to engineering as a whole. I myself, being in cybersecurity, a lot of the times we'll get these huge projects that are not manageable without a project manager. And so that's why the PMP is so critical. It's so critical to what we do. A project manager is so important to what we do that they've listed it. And you might even argue, I mean, they've got a bunch of certifications here that are not specifically security related. I mean, you got, I think the MCSE is on here. I don't call it MCSE anymore, but you got cloud certifications on here. You've got the CCNA, which is not specifically a networking certification. Let me show my screen again. Yeah, CCNA is on here. That's not, they have security stuff on it, but it's mostly for network engineers. You've got there's a few other ones on here that are not security specific. A+ certification, Network Plus, CompTIA A+. What else is on here? There's a bunch of ones here that are I mean, the Red Hat system administrator. They're not specifically in line, like you're not usually just doing security with those certifications, but there are such important supportive roles that they put them on here because it's critical to, especially if you're doing large projects. You have to have a project manager. You have to have a system, just like you have to have a system engineer. We're not going to do security without a system engineer. We're not going to do security without a system administrator. We're not going to do security without a project manager. We're just not going to. It's just not going to happen. It's like you don't have a manager. There's a bunch of players that are in place that we must have. So I think it's great that they listed on here. And I know a lot of system security guys that have a PMP because a lot of what we do is project management. So they'll go ahead and get a PMP. And PMP actually pays pretty good once you get that certification. Like you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but it pays pretty good. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure security guys where some money hungry bastards would not get this certification. Just my opinion. Let me see. Thank you, Larry, for that $10. I appreciate you. Thanks for donating to the Liquid Death Fund. He says, "What is your opinion on networking? Follow and connecting. Oh, networking is in following and connecting with people on LinkedIn. Uh, has been invaluable. A lot of very knowledgeable people giving away free information. It's really critical. One of the things that I always forget to mention that Ryan, when he was on here, mentioned that I was like, damn, why didn't I don't ever talk about it? Is an organization called the ISSA. So if you happen to be new to this, if you're an IT guy who's trying to level up, another thing that you should do to get yourself in the game is go to an organization called the ISSA. And let me just show you what it is. If you're wondering, if you've never heard of it, let me just introduce you to it. In your area, let's say you lived in Chicago, and you want to go to the ISSA. So every city has a local ISSA chapter. And ISSA is the Information System Security Association. And what it is a meeting of a bunch of security professionals who get together like once a week or something, or maybe once a month. It depends on the chapter. Some of them are more active. Like this one looks like it meets like every once a month. It's meeting on the 12th, but they have a whole bunch of events. They'll have industry events. They'll have vendors come in and talk. They'll have training sessions. They'll have mentorships. They'll have job fairs. They'll have all kinds of stuff related to information security and information technology throughout the month. And some of them are more active than others. I think this one is like once a week. They've got something going on. It looks like, I don't know, but yeah. So if whether you're in Denver, you're in Colorado Springs, you're in Cedar Rapids, you're in wherever you happen to be, they have a local ISSA chapter. And you might have to drive somewhere if you live very provincial, rural area, but they have it, and it's a great way to network with people. It's very, very important, especially early on in your career. This was one of the things that I did when I first started, and it gave me so many opportunities. So many opportunities. I built a website for them. I got to be involved and actually have put more things on my resume because I was involved with this organization. So this is another thing that you can do. And I just keep forgetting to mention it, but it's super important if you're trying to get. So thank you, Larry, for that. But ISSA, go to Google, type in or Bing, whatever, type in ISSA and then whatever city that you're in, and you'll find a local chapter. And they meet like once a month, and you can just join. You can get in there, and I think you have to. They got a membership, so you have to pay a certain amount. But when you first come in, like in our local chapter, they would let you come in first couple times or whatever, and then it was free first couple times you did it. So that local ISSA chapter they're gonna have mentorships, they're gonna have job fairs, they're gonna have local meetups. You can ask all kinds of questions. The people are hungry to teach you more information because people sometimes just don't ask questions. So, any recommendations on how to pass the CCSP? I would go to the IC squared site. They have some of the best resources there, and they have a bunch of they'll have a bunch of places. They'll point you in the right direction to get their official book. They'll break down all the domains you need to know. They'll have little tests and flashcards that you can download for free on their site. And another place that you can go is use is AI. AI is going to be able to crank out a bunch of questions that you can use. You can even take all the questions that you got from the ISSA or from you can take all the domains that you get from the ISC2 squared site, plug those into the large language model like Open AI or Claude AI or Genesis or whatever you use. Plug it in there and say, hey, give me questions based off of this domain of this whatever certification, and you'd be surprised what it comes up with. All right, dude, is that a Nuggets or a minor cap? It's the Denver Nuggets. What do you think about tech boot camps. Um, they're okay. They're okay. I think that if you're gonna spend 10 grand on a boot camp, I wouldn't do it. It's better just go to school. It's better just go get a degree. Spend your time going to get a degree and spend your time getting experience. I've gone to boot camps, but usually it's been paid for by the company I work for. Um, just my 2 cents. Like just having a boot camp is not going to get you a job, and so you're going to spend all this money. Yeah, you're gonna spend a whole bunch of money because they're usually very expensive. They're gonna help you get that certification. But the thing is, the certification only gets you so far. And what you really need is the experience. If there's a boot camp that can get you experience, that would be dope. Paul Jeremy, yes, it's a great site. Let me see here. PMP is a step down from security. I don't know. It depends. Like you could be a project manager that's managing other project managers. I have a vulnerability management analyst role interview coming up. Any tips? Yes. So what you do is go to go to OpenAI, and then have it act as an interviewer. Put the job description, take the copy and paste the job description of that job, put it into OpenAI, and tell OpenAI act as a manager, active as active as a manager, and give me interview questions for this job. I did it live, like I think last week, and it comes up with some amazing stuff, especially if you have more information. And then rehearse it, record yourself doing the interview. Look at your mannerisms. Look at how your speech inflections. Look at how you pay attention to your speech patterns and practice over and over again, like in the mirror, or record yourself and then watch yourself back. Watch yourself. Look at how much eye contact you make. Look at your facial expressions as you're speaking. You're trying to rehearse for a part, and then you're going to do really good on that interview. So step one, go to OpenAI and have it ask you questions based off the actual job description. Then rehearse how you respond to each one of those questions that it gives you. And then watch yourself back, and then practice over and over and get better and better at presentation. It's not just about how you speak. It's not just about how you verbalize, but it's how you express yourself. It's you're putting on a performance. Think of it like that. And this is a performance that's gonna land you $95,000 a year or whatever. Like it's worth your time to practice. Okay. Let me see. Ask AI. Got it. Thank you. I think that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all the questions. Let me see if there's anything else. PMP is, in my opinion, also listed on an expert level because it's pretty high degree of difficulty to obtain. Yeah, it's expert level stuff. It's shocked me when I first saw it, but I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. I will not be doing this tomorrow. I've got some stuff to do. I mean, maybe if I can, I'll do it, but I doubt it. That's why I did it early today. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks you for your questions. Um, Appreciate everybody. I'm out of here for the week. Stay tuned.